Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay in Washington, and joining us now in Washington is Ralph Nader. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Paul.
And I'm not going to say you don't need an introduction because you really don't, so we're just going to get into it. You have, over the decades of your career, fought a campaign against corporate, no, I shouldn't say greed because it's sort of inherent in what a corporation is. You can't fight corporate greed or there wouldn't be any. But you fought against stronger regulation, you fought for the public interest, you fought against the rich, one could say, in favor of the public. And you've just written a book of fiction called Only the Rich Can Save Us. So how do you get from there to here?
It's called Only the Super Rich Can Save Us, and it's in quotes because it's a grandmother after Katrina north of New Orleans when all the poor families were streaming out and FEMA was not to be found. Warren Buffett, who's one of the characters, I use real super rich Americans in an advanced stage in fictional roles, and he's the leader. And he rushes down with all kinds of trucks, supplies, and public health workers. He's passing out life-saving materials, food, medicine, tents, and
Coca-Cola,
water, and so on. And a grandmother comes up to him and says, "Only the super rich can save us." And that go all the way back to Omaha in the car. It's ringing in his ears. Only super rich can save us. And when he gets back to Omaha, he knows what he's going to do. And he gets together 16 other super rich Americans, including William Gates Sr. and Ted Turner and George Soros and Yoko Ono and others, Phil Donahue, Paul Newman, and others. And he gets them in a mountaintop hotel in Maui, January 2006. The whole book occurs in 1 year. And they decide they're going to put mega bucks behind the people of this country to organize, to recruit the talent, to start a clean elections party, a People's Chamber of Commerce, to have a whole network of radio and TV. Barry Diller is one of them, the media mogul. And the whole book is designed to be realistic. Once you accept the premise that 17 very, very rich older people with a different perspective, they want to look at their grandchildren. So it's sort of like
watching pro wrestling. You got to decide, okay, it's real enough, and now I'm going to buy into the storyline.
Yeah, and every page is realistic. Once you accept the money and the smarts and the fact that they've got a big circle, each one of them, in one area or another. Ted Turner starts a group called Billionaires Against Bullshit, for example. Well, in real life, he wanted to do that. He gave $1 billion to the United Nations in 1998. Warren Buffett, he gave $35 billion in installments to the Gates Foundation. The early anti-slavery movement in our country, abolition, funded significantly by rich Bostonians and New Yorkers. The modern civil rights movement, take the Stern family and the Curry family, they pumped millions of dollars into those movements. So there is a precedent. But I take it to a new level of intensity strategy as they take on the giant corporations and their cronies in Washington. So there's a very large bit of drama and humor as well. Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes read it on her vacation. And she said, I read and read and read in a note she sent to me. She said, I found it engrossing, creative, and funny. I said, I'll take all three. So the idea is to liberate our political imagination. Because we have, in the U.S., we have the lowest imagination of any people in the Western world when it comes to the kind of society and justice we should construct.
Yeah, expectations are pretty low, but why do you have anything other than low expectations of these guys? Like, are you hoping you're going to inspire these now 14 that are left of the 17?
Them and others like them.
Because I talked to Ted Turner about the Real News Network, which in theory you think is something he would like. And it was like, and his response was, "Oh, I've done that. I can't go back there again."
Yeah, well, you know, they make quick judgments, and they've been very successful financially with quick judgments. So it's hard to teach them anything. However, they all have their particular interests. Like Peter Lewis is in the book, head of Progressive Insurance. What does he want to do? He wants to legalize marijuana. What does Buffett would like to do? He change the tax system and its perverse incentives and make it fairer and better. What does Ted Turner want to do? He's an environmentalist now. I mean, he really believes in solar energy and so on. So the idea is to go beyond those 17 and also spark the imagination of others. Now, super rich people give a lot to charity. This isn't charity. This is justice. This is shift of power. This is going after the causes of hunger, not setting up soup kitchens. And that's going to take a while. Yeah, that kind of move, because years ago the rich just gave to their churches. And then they started giving to their own foundations, Ford, Rockefeller, Carnegie Foundation. Now we have to move them into the justice arena.
But some people have suggested that this is a bit of you getting pessimistic or giving up on a people's movement.
Well, partly it's a recognition that justice needs money. And I go all over the country, and state after state, I see people fighting a good fight in the inner cities, in the rural areas, wherever, right? And they lose and they lose and they lose. Not all the time, but they do lose a lot up against City Hall, up against the big developer, the big polluter, etc. However, when they lose and they look back on their loss, what do they say? They say, what if we had more organizers? What if we had more media? What if we had more money, right?
But the thing
and that's what this book addresses.
But if we're going to talk real world rather than the book, in the real world, Soros has a foundation. He gives away a lot of money, but they pick projects that are within the realm of what they consider acceptable. Buffett does give away money. A lot of these guys have given away political money.
One reason I picked them, to move them into the justice area. Now let's take Soros. He started the Open Society Institute. It's done a lot of good. It's actually created new citizen organizations. Now, he was dead set against the invasion of Iraq. He went after Bush like no super rich guy. He wrote, he spoke out, he gave interviews, even put out a book. He said, this is catastrophe, this is disastrous. There's no reason to invade Iraq and alienate so many people and so many lives. And at the same time, Paul, at least 300 retired generals, admirals, former diplomats, former heads of security, CIA and NSA, like Bill Odom, 4-star general, Admiral Shanahan, General Zinni, two guys close to Bush's father, Bent Scowcroft and Jim Baker. They wrote op-eds. They spoke against the war, right? Here's what was missing. If Soros connected with them and said, I'm going to make you nationally known, $150 million.
But what stopped him?
Wait, lack of imagination.
Well,
I swear.
He had the imagination to buy hundreds of thousands of shares of AOL Time Warner. He was actually, I don't know if he got on the board, but he had a clout at CNN.
That's right.
And what good did any of that do?
It's that last link that wasn't made. Had he put them on TV in the 6 months for March 2003, put them on radio, got them up on Congress, because Congress reacts to that, it would have informed, already half the people didn't want it, even though all they heard from a compliant media and Bush and Cheney was the lies, weapons of mass destruction, etc.
But where does their economic interest, there's a line there, where they're not going to cross if it's going to jeopardize their own position in the society. So where is that line? And I'm not saying all the billionaires are the same. There's big divisions between them. And some of them are a heck of a lot more rational, and a lot of them are sociopaths. So there's a spectrum there.
That's the point. All we need is 1% of them. The rest can be
1%
narcissistic.
of non-sociopaths.
1% of the mega billionaires in the country will do it. $15 billion turned the country around in this book, and I defy anybody to show how this could not have been done, because it's very realistic, page after page, how they built the base. Now, here's the point.
So where are they?
They see the country going over the abyss. They're in their 70s, 80s, and 90s. Their economic incentive to amass more wealth is subordinated to the way they want to be viewed in history. They want their grandchildren and great-grandchildren to inherit this country. I mean, I've talked to a lot of these billionaires. They are incredibly demoralized.
What are they saying to you?
It's like, I can't believe our country is where it is. Military, foreign policy, the economy, everything going down. And this is the way I'm going to leave it, they would say. I mean, but you have to turn it around. That's what I want to do with this. This could be a movie. Warren Beatty's in this, running against Schwarzenegger for governor of California. And it could well be a movie. The idea is, if we don't, imagine.
It shouldn't be a fictional movie. It should be a documentary. We should take the book.
Sure.
We'll go with you. Let's go talk to the 14 of the 17 and see if they buy in.
It would be very good. Ted Turner called me. He said he'll go to any meeting of billionaires to discuss the points in this book in terms of reality. Others are coming around. Look, most people don't read books this size. They read novels this size. They don't read books this size. But this book's going to be used in courses. It's a book about the reality of power, how it concentrates, and how it can be deconstructed, and at a far lesser civic energy level than most people think.
Okay, well, read the book. Only the super rich can save us, and we're going to follow up, because I'm serious. If you'll go, we'll go with you. Let's see if some of the super rich buy into this.
We've never had more super rich.
And
So all you need is less than 1%.
Never been quite on the same precipice of the apocalypse. So thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us on the Real News Network.